Welcome back to the Knowledgeable Podcast, Episode 5. So, disclaimer before I get started, anything I do or say is not financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor. And anything I say in here is not to be go out and do or say. This is just really for entertainment purposes only. So, if you go out and do, use my advice at any, that's on you, not on me, because you were the clown that did it. We're going to move on. So today I'm going to be talking about a symbol called a PE ratio on a company in the stock market. So I'm hoping this video is not going to be that long, because I'm going to start doing tutorials, if you want to say. So a PE ratio is basically a price to earnings for a stock. So whatever their price per share is to what the stock or the company, I should say, made in profit. Now, I don't totally forget how they, multiply it and all this other stuff, but I don't really care to look at it like that, because I know the numbers that are good and what are bad. I don't care how they multiply it. So the good ones are usually 15. Basically, if you can get a stock under a PE of 20 to 15 in certain categories or certain industries. Now, the real estate REITs, as they call them, the real estate investment. Like, so you're buying, what REITs are is you're buying a stock that has all this real estate in it. So you're basically an owner, you're a landlord of real estate, but you don't have to deal with all the property management and all that crap. You're just getting dividends every month if they pay it. So unless it's a REIT or some other type of form that happens to do with, they don't really care about profit right now, then usually the P is used to figure out the valuations of companies. That's just one metric in finding out the fundamentals of a company. You also have to look at its financial statement and other stuff. But today I'm only going to focus on P because a lot of stuff in the stock market is very confusing. So again, the P ratio is a price to earnings. So basically, whatever the share price is to what the net profit of what the company made in that quarter or that year. So quarters are usually 3 to 4 months, depends on the quarter. It's usually 3 months, but there's like 12 months. So I guess it actually is like 4. Yeah, that makes sense. So 4, yeah. So I don't know, 3. Yeah, because there's 4 quarters. So again, it's like a little bit over 3 in certain months, 3 months in each quarter. So that's how quarters work, and yearly is the entire year what they made. P doesn't calculate revenue in play. That's why I said if a company like Amazon, for instance, which has right now, insane, a 258 PE, which is outrageous. But their goal is not to make profit. Like their goal, yes, at some point is to make profit, and they are making profit, don't get me wrong, but their goal is not to make absurd amount of profit right now. Their main goal is to try to find other income streams, other ways so they can put investments. It's really about investments, and they're hoping that these investments are going to create income streams. So that's what they're mainly focused on. So that's why when you see these asinine, prices, yeah, I would still say that Amazon, in my opinion, is overvalued. But it also, you have to say, okay, well, is it actually overvalued? I don't know. Would I buy Amazon right now after who I've been listening to? Maybe. But, I also have to do my own analysis, and I've been doing my own analysis, and I still kind of the same conclusion, is that maybe I was a little bit too tough on Amazon, but I still don't want to pay $1 trillion, an over $1.1 trillion market cap I'm not saying that it's not a good time to buy it. I think there's still growth in Amazon. Maybe not in revenue, but there's still growth in the sense of earnings. So maybe there's a good play there. But is it now? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But moving on from my own nonsense, we can look at, the stock that I love it, NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is, so I actually do have my computer here. According to Yahoo Finance, it is 175.36 PE. Okay. They are not like Amazon. They're not like any company, okay, that should be worth 175.36 PE. Now, some will argue, well, their forward PE is 60. Okay, so what a forward PE is basically a growth. They put in growth to what the earnings could be in the future. Well, NVIDIA's earnings growth, which I'm not totally sure, but I know their revenue growth, which I know I did say that PE does it, but the revenue growth does help bring up earnings most of the time. Not always. But with a company like NVIDIA, it probably will. It's 30% year over year. So when I say year over year, that means every single year in the next, however long, they're supposed to grow up to 30% in revenue and possibly like 20% or something in earnings or something, which is really good. But that's the best case scenario. So you have to look at the middle and go, okay, so the best case scenario is 30%. 20% sounds more reasonable for both revenue and earnings. Because you're only going to get 30% for so many years. Okay? And why I don't think it's going to be 30% is because, not saying it can't be 30, 35%. I'm not saying that it can't be that. But as of right now, it's not going to be. Okay? Because I don't think people understand that they're still going to have to compete against AMD, against Intel. And let me explain something. Intel makes more revenue and profit than NVIDIA does. And Intel's market cap is at like $250 billion. And NVIDIA's at $759 billion right now in Yahoo, according to Yahoo Finance. So, and they only made last year they made like $26 billion in revenue, and they had a little bit of like $5 billion in net profit. Is that a good company to buy right now? No. So that's why a PE will come in very good. Okay, because as you can tell, 175 PE is absolutely outrageous. And I believe how you can tell what a PE ratio is you have the times it. So whatever the price is, you're paying 175, right now you're paying 175 times the earnings right now to the price. That's what you're paying for NVIDIA. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to go back to 18 PE. I'm not saying that. I don't think it will. I think it possibly could go to 30 just because of growth, really. I think it needs to go back to 18 or 20 or 26 PE. Will it? Possibly. Definitely could. And remember this, everything that goes up must come down. The video is about to come down. And it went way up, back in when COVID happened, and in 2021 it went like a rocket ship, just like right now. And that went a lot higher. But again, that came all the way down, way down. Like when you throw out something, let's say a printer, when you throw out a printer out the window, it's just going to drop because of gravity. That's how fast it dropped. But it moved up like this. But it came, no, it did go like this. But, you get what my point is. So, NVIDIA did that same thing again, all the way up. And now it's going to go all the way down. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go back to $108, but I am saying that it possibly could go even lower or stay up higher. Now, I do believe that NVIDIA, it probably is a good buy, maybe, possibly at $150, but that's, again, cutting it. That's if you count growth in play and you're willing to be okay with 20 to 25% growth for the next 5 years, which they're not going to have because, I just don't think they're going to have it at least not this year, is basically what I'm saying. And next year, it's still going to be a question. Because if you look at their Q1 earnings, okay, which was, I believe, $6 billion revenue and like 2 or 1, I think it was actually $1 billion in net income. If you look at the Q1 in 2021, it was actually $8 billion. And it was like 2 billion or 1.41 billion. So the net income kind of stayed the same, which is good, but the revenue didn't. So, and in 2021, they actually had a higher revenue, or not really, a higher net income than they did in 2022. So, and Q1 of 2023 was lower. Q2 is tomorrow. Oh yes, NVIDIA earnings come out tomorrow. That should be a fun one. And it's fun for me because I have a lot of short positions on NVIDIA, and I think a lot of people are going to sell the news, but I could be absolutely totally wrong. So don't quote me on that. Well, actually, if you look at it, they actually did have a little bit higher revenue. The revenue was actually last year. Oh no, this was this year. I apologize. This is what they're calculating for this year, not last year. Yeah, 2022 revenue and earnings was absolutely crazy, but again, they were growing, and they probably grew even higher than what they were supposed to grow, like every other company. So in 2023, they're expected to beat revenue from 2022 by like couple 10 millions, 20, 30, 40 million. That's like, yeah, nothing crazy. Earnings are not going to beat at all. They're actually going to go back they're going to beat the 2021 earnings, but they're going to be down a lot from the 2022 earnings, which makes a lot of sense because they're going to have a lot of problems coming to them. Their Q1 earnings was not bad, considering, but it still wasn't fantastic. So we're going to see what it is this year. So we're going to see what we have here. Now, one analyst actually has them the low as 190 for a price by the end of this year, or I'm sorry, by next year, like year to date. So, but their high is 394, which will not happen, unless it possibly could if there's like some really great, unless they pump the market up, basically. Average 297, it is. My average is 150, and that's kind of my high. Yeah, maybe I'm nuts, I don't know. But it seems like a lot of people around me kind of agree with me. So, I'm not saying I'm going to be right or we're all going to be right, but NVIDIA has a lot of problems. They're overvalued. There's the biggest problem. Number two, they have a lot of chips that are going into their manufacturing facility, and they're clumping them up because they can't sell that much. So now it may not be a whole lot, but that could tamper on their net income. So that could be interesting. But again, looking at this, we have 175 PE ratio. I mean, that's just outrageous. You could argue that Amazon's over 200, but again, Amazon also makes $500 billion. I do apologize about this. Why is this doing it? Sorry. Okay. They also make $500 billion in revenue, and their earnings are very poor. But again, they're not really focused on earning right now, is what they said, which I think is just dumb. But, whatever. I hope they're also trying to grow their earnings. Maybe that's what they're trying to do in the future, which is what I hope they're doing. But NVIDIA right now in after hours is up 0.04%. I'm sorry, 0.06%. It just went up, which I think is stupidity, but whatever. They're idiots. I don't know what else to tell you. The traders are different. The investors that are investing in it right now are complete fools. Why would you keep a stock that is just going up, going up, going up, and they think it's going to go to like 1,000? No. And it's not like Tesla, where Tesla was just going up because what's-his-face was able to get some, crazy valuation, and people were going crazy because Tesla was an amazing stock, they said, and da-da-da-da, and now Tesla's actually less valued than NVIDIA. So, Tesla's not really valued very good either, so even when it's actually has a over $500 billion valuation. You can't be a car company and be valued at. And I'm not saying that Tesla is a car company. Okay? What I've been saying is that the most money that they make right now is from cars. So I'm gonna call them a car company. Okay. Their car division, which makes them the most money, okay? And they make robots, but they really haven't sold any yet. Okay? And maybe they're a software data company, sure. But it's in the car, okay? I don't care if it's data, software, whatever. They could be that, okay? But until they start selling that type other stuff, then we can call them that. But right now, I'm not calling them that because most of their money that they're making, and I mean like 90% of it, is from cars, okay? And from maybe a subscription in upgrading the car, whatever. But it's still from the car. So, Tesla had problems, okay? Tesla had to keep lowering their prices just to get people to buy their cars. And they still weren't buying them. I don't get people, okay? And their other problem is that they were having, like NVIDIA's having, just a lot worse than NVIDIA. They were having, they're constrained, they were being constrained from all of the, they weren't selling as many cars, so they had to just pack them away and lower their margins, which was going to hurt them and whatever, and just keep lowering the prices. And I ended up making money because I shorted them, which I'm not surprised because my thesis was, of course, correct. I do believe it could have went a whole lot lower, and I still think it's going to. But I got out because I just needed a win for a day. And I was only really looking for like a 20% gain. Now I only got 12, but I could, if I would have sat in it for a little bit, I definitely would have got 20%. But it's whatever. I just wanted to get out and make profit because I wasn't making anything at the time, and I just wanted to get out. So, that's what I did. So again, NVIDIA earnings are tomorrow for Q2. Should be interesting. Tomorrow is going to be May 24th. I'm very ramped up to see what they are. I don't know if they're before hours or after. I would assume they're going to be after, but I don't know because they're a tech company and sometimes, you know, well, they're actually a semiconductor company. That's really what they are. They make chips. Yeah. But, excuse me. I don't know. So we'll see what NVIDIA does in the near term. And again, the PE ratio is what the price per share is to the earnings, to how much a company earns. So when a company goes, well, we earned $1 billion, you should buy our stock. Now, I'm not saying any company does it. They would not. That'd be dumb. But because the person lost money, they would sue them. Yeah, that's why it'd be dumb. And again, if they said $1 billion, you should go out and buy our stock, and their market cap's at, $100 billion, and yeah, there's growth, but they only make $2 billion in revenue, or $5 billion, $6 billion in revenue, and $500 million in net profit, and they're telling you should go buy the stock at $100 billion valuation. Yeah, I would question what their intentions are, because you better see those guys buying the stock at that point. So you have to always understand something. In the stock market, these people, what they do is they say one thing and then they do the complete opposite. And that's what happened in Tesla. A lot of insight, like, you ever heard of Cathie Wood? I consider her an idiot, but that's just me. Because when she's a clown that sits there and goes, well, yes, I do believe that Tesla will be going to a $7 trillion valuation in 10 years. Mind you, the richest company in the world, public company at least in the world, is Apple. And it's valued at very close. At one point it got to $3 trillion back in November of 2021. But right now it's valued at $2.9 trillion or something weird like that. Yeah, I don't think Tesla's getting to a $7 trillion valuation company. They possibly get to a $3 trillion, maybe a $4. But right now, they're not going to $7 trillion in the next 10 years. They would have to have so much growth, it would be dumb, right? I mean, right now they only make $80 billion in revenue. So you're saying they're going to make $100 billion this year. They're going to make $200 billion next year, plus they're going to make another $50 billion in maybe earnings? Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I think you should rework that. Okay, I don't see what you see. That's why she's an idiot. Okay? Because there's no way that what they make, and yes, they're coming out with AI crap, which will also help with the revenue and profit. I get that. So again, they're not going to be considered a car company until, and they're going to be called something else. But they're still a car company because most of their money is made from cars and from data that they sell in the cars. Car company. So they're going to have competition for the car company. I'm glad they're diverse, investing into other places like AI, which you could say is dangerous. I don't know. I would probably agree with you, because the people that are running it are usually dangerous people. So there's that. But I, do believe that with everything that we have today, Tesla will not be at $7 trillion in 10 years. I don't believe that. Okay. 50, maybe. 20, I think it's pushing it. But I don't believe that they will be at 7 or 10 or whatever $1 trillion as a company. Not as a stock, as a company. Because people will make the market will make irrational prices. I mean, they physically would have to be valued at that price or closely valued. And Apple's not even valued at $3 trillion. Let me let you know that. Like, they're not. Like, if you diversed all their assets, someone would probably pay $3 trillion, which I don't know who is. I guess the U.S. government, maybe. I don't know. But, but they're not worth $3 trillion. Let me just tell you that. Like, if you look at their balance sheet, they're definitely worth over $1 trillion, possibly two, if you really want to be nice. I'm not a nice guy like that, so I would say 1.5 is probably a correct valuation. If you add growth to, so 2.2 trillion is probably a good one that they would probably get priced in, you know. But again, NVIDIA, I'm going to tell you again, and I know I'm going over my time here, so I'll probably get to like 30 minutes after I'm all done. Right now it's at $759 billion. A couple of days ago it was at like 780 billion, over that probably. In my opinion, the stock has to have a valuation, this is me being nice, with a valuation of $300 billion. That means that we have a lot to go down. And so yeah, I don't think that it's a good time to buy NVIDIA. I don't. I just don't. If you're trading it, different. But if you're investing it in the next 10 years, forget about it. It ain't going to be at that price. Unless there's another irrational thing. Because this market, I hate to tell you folks, might have already bottomed. I don't know about that. But I think it's going to go back down again. And then I think it's going to slowly come back up. And I'm not saying it's happening this month or next month or the following month. You know, I could see it happen in 2024. But at some point, you're going to see a big collapse. And NVIDIA is going to come down with that too, just to let you know. And a lot of this is just an AI pump up. So it's a baby bubble right now. AI is a baby bubble that's going to get popped at some point. And when it does, let me tell you, every AI stock that's going up will go down a decent amount. I'm not saying Microsoft's going to crash. It isn't, because they don't make all their money from AI, but you know, it's still going to go down somewhat, you know, a certain percentage. And Microsoft is like that company behind the scenes, but is now starting to turn like Google, and it's starting to become the next Google, even though they make more money than Google. Microsoft, I think, will get bigger than Apple if Microsoft becomes the search engine of the world. But that's only if. Because all that Apple does is it's just a brand. Let me tell you. That's all it is. They just happen to have a good brand, and that's really why and then they have good, I mean, this thing is a Apple that I'm using, but, you know, it's an iPhone, but, you know, it's whatever. It's just a brand. So, that's really all it is. And it's a really good damn brand that makes a lot of money. Okay, so, that's basically it. I know we kind of didn't really talk totally about PE ratios. We got distracted, I should say. But that's basically what a PE ratio is. Basically tells you what a company is looking at per share to what their earnings and how much you're spending over what their earnings are. It's basically what a PE ratio is. So, thank you for listening today. I know this was kind of a shorter one, but I think my first video was actually short, but that was a part 1 and part 2. This is not going to be a part. This might be considerably a series, if you want to say, because I'm going to teach you different things in the stock market, I guess. But thank you again. This is the Knowledgeable Podcast. Subscribe, and like, and I'm also going to figure out what's going on with the comments. So thank you. Goodbye.